You're very
So,
kind.
Because
Martha.
I don't write poetry, so
Thank you.
it's something.
Well, I could say the same thing the other way around.
I'm sure you do really well with that. I want to thank Gloria, just a Herculean individual, a Renaissance woman who manages to do so much, publishing almost 200 books, maintaining this wonderful salon here, and working.
Really?
Not that that's not work, let me tell you, but I've had a lot of publishers, but you've been just fantastic. You know, you've been a publisher who's been a friend, so thank you very much. So these come from Slow Transit, which for some reason I keep calling Slow Train. I don't know where that came from.
You need to change the title.
Yeah, they're interchangeable, what the heck. I've got some shorties and some semi-shorties, because I don't like to read long stuff at readings, because as a member of the audience, I always find that kind of tedious. And so I decided, don't read your long stuff. Not that I have a lot of long stuff. Anyway, this is called Discount Giants. Is there a place where you can give back fear, trade it in for something less distressing? It's doing me no good as far as I can tell, so I should be able to return it. I don't recall where or how I got it, but I've had it a long time. It's still like new though, so surely someone will take it back. I've tried Walmart and Target, but they claim it's not one of their items. Maybe Costco? This is called Acceptance. And this was inspired by seeing Patti Smith, and just momentarily she was at the MFA. It was shortly after she wrote her book about Mapplethorpe, and she had just published M Train. I don't know if you read it. I just loved it. And there was something about that inspired this, because Patti Smith was recounting a period of time she bought a little bungalow on a boardwalk in New Jersey. It sounded kind of like it was a little bit falling down, and it was just something that was very evocative to me. So this is called Acceptance, with a front quote by Paul Cézanne. We live in a rainbow of chaos. My girlfriend and me rented a tiny bungalow next to an old 10-story tenement at the end of the boardwalk in Atlantic City. The outside of our house was in need of a coat of paint, and the shutters were hanging at different angles than they should, but the interior wasn't bad. The floors were a bit uneven, and there was a slight leak in the bathroom ceiling. But on the plus side, there was a small wood fireplace in the kitchen and a built-in bookshelf in the front room where we put our collection of seashells and used paperbacks. Unfortunately, the bedroom window looked out onto the wall that was 8 inches away. I calculated that it was absolutely no further than that, and it wasn't terribly scenic. We spent what was left of the first day at our new place sitting on the sagging front porch that overlooked the ocean, and then we turned in. Not long after, things started crashing down on the roof. The initial loud thud shocked us out of our sleep. It was followed at measured intervals by several more jarring booms that caused us to run outside to see what was happening. As we stood on the sidewalk and looked up, another object was hurled from a window of the building that towered over ours. "Shoes!" shouted my girlfriend. "They're dropping fucking shoes on our roof!" As soon as the words slipped from her mouth, another pair descended onto the top of our squat digs. Stunned and perturbed, I called the police and reported what was happening. "Shoes?" asked the officer. "Yeah, shoes," I answered. "Well, what type?" he inquired. "Does it matter?" I replied. "Well, maybe not. Hold on," he said. After a few moments, he spoke again. "Well, I checked, and there's no law against that." What do you mean? Dropping footwear from a tall building onto a smaller one is no offense, regardless of the type of shoes, he offered. We returned to the front porch and mulled over the officer's response to our complaint. Then we re-entered our new rental and slipped under the covers of our double bed. It only took a while before we got used to the crashing sounds and went back to sleep. This one is called What She Saw. When my sister's ex-husband suddenly died, she kept saying that every time she looked up at the sun, she saw his face. She told everybody that, and everybody thought she was just being Claudia. But recently she'd become more peculiar than she'd always been. Not wrapped too tight was the popular way of describing her. Within weeks after the funeral, she was diagnosed with frontal lobe dementia, and her mental deterioration was fairly swift. Soon she stopped saying she could see her ex in the sun, because soon she stopped knowing what the sun was. This one's called Compromise, with a front quote by Mahatma Gandhi. We win justice quickest by rendering justice to the other party. Excuse me. Howard could stand or lie down, but he was barred from sitting. It's impossible to live this way, he complained to his wife, Vera. You knew when we replaced the chairs in our house with brand new ones that you wouldn't be allowed to sit on them because of your barbed tail, she replied. Howard had thought his wife's unreasonable demand would be short-lived once she saw the problem it created for him. He was wrong. It had been 3 weeks, and she was holding fast to her edict, barring his protuberance from ever making contact with her replacement seating. That's all well and good for you. You don't have a prehensile spike. Can't you see I'm miserable? Too bad. That thing has destroyed more furniture than I can count. I've pleaded with you for years to have it removed, but no, you wouldn't even consider it. Your precious, precious butt spear, barked Vera. It's an integral part of who I am. Removing it would change who I am. And you know there could be complications from the surgery. Besides, I've asked you to cut off your third foot, and you won't do that. Well, I don't ruin the seats, do I? Come on, Vera. It's affecting the quality of my home life. I'm so tired of standing while watching television or eating or reading the newspaper. None of these things work lying down either. You know that, so please let me forget about it. You're not going to sit on our brand new chairs, never. It was with that emphatic statement that Howard decided to take action. It's either her or me, he thought, while moving to where his wife sat in her shiny red leather recliner. What are you doing, Howard? Asked Vera, as her husband turned his back and suddenly descended on her, ass first. The thickness of her lap kept Howard's lance-like tail from cutting into the cushion of the chair beneath her. There, we both got what we wanted, said Howard, as he nestled into the folds of his wife's skirt. He took her reticence to mean that he could now sit anywhere he damn well pleased. This is called forced learning. Gambling wasn't always what drew people to Reno, Nevada, says Clark, adding, initially it was mining, farming, and a railroad community. He mentioned stuff like that all the time. Like, for instance, yesterday, he stated that Greta Garbo's name was Lovisa Gustafsson. I don't even know who Greta Garbo is and really don't care. Another time, Clark explained that what makes Denver the mile-high city is the 13th step on the west side of the state capitol building. Again, it was information I didn't need. I figure it's important for him to share what he knows with me. so I don't say anything. Besides, you need to get along with your cellmate, especially if he's a pathological didactic. And this final piece is called Half-Lives. Half-Lives. Mary and Harold go to Disney World every year. Susan has 6 kids and is planning on having another. Kyle considers the Venetian in Las Vegas better than Venice itself. The Johnsons only go for a drive on Sundays. Sarah raves about the clothes and shoes at Walmart. The Bold and Beautiful is high drama to Jill. Marvin and Kelly fight over which buffet restaurant is best. Craig is driven crazy when dandelions appear in his yard. Fred Lipschutz buys a white Toyota Corolla. Peggy Taylor watches The Sound of Music 37 times. Chicken McNuggets are Dale's favorite food. Basil Rumford considers watching his lawn sprinkler an activity. The Williams think humans are not meant to fly, so they bus across the country. Gladys moves to Sun City instead of Tahiti with her boyfriend. Sam gets a canary for company. A fun-filled getaway weekend for the Smiths means a stay at Motel 6. Helen always drives 5 miles per hour under the speed limit. Perry's favorite dessert is Fig Newton. The Wilsons believe America is always right.